but I mean, YOLO. So Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. The day is finally here. My Shelby GT350 engine is here right behind me in this box. I know that it's taken such a long time, but I'll go over why there was such a delay. I'll go over the pricing, all of the engine components, but first, let's start by taking apart this box and seeing the engine for the first time. Now that I removed that green wrap, let's actually give you a walk around so I can show you all of the things that you can notice that would differentiate it from a stock GT350 engine. So here we have this ATI damper, and you might not be able to see it, but we have an MMR crankshaft bolt. So here on the heads, they added this RPG logo. So they did that on both heads and I really like it. It gives it a nice little unique touch. They also added these rubber gaskets on the exhaust port. So you can tell this is not the plastic oil pan that the stock GT350 engine comes with. This is actually the GT500 oil pan, and you can't tell, but it also has the GT500 oil pump as well. So moving on here, we have these balancing tubes. So these are custom. RPG ended up fabricating these balancing tubes. So these are similar to the ones that the FP350 has. So I wanted this on mine. So I'll speak more about these later, and I'll go more into detail on everything later on, but I just want to show you just so you can see what differentiates it from a stock engine. So here we also have this MMR head cooling mod, and we also have this MMR rear seal cover. So oh, and one last thing I forgot to show you that I noticed earlier is this really cool RPG Racing Engines oil cap. I really like that. Again, it gives it a nice touch, but I can't contain my excitement. My engine is finally here. So you guys got a bit of a glimpse of some of the things that were changed and added to the engine. Now we are going to go over all of the engine components, but I also have these GT500 valve covers, and I want to install those now and replace them with these hard plastic ones that come with the stock GT350 engine. So let's take care of that first, but in the meantime, once I remove these stock valve covers, we'll be able to see all of the changes done to the heads. So let's do that, show you the changes, and then we'll add the GT500 valve covers. The most obvious and noticeable change here are the cams. At one point, I know that I had mentioned I was a little bit undecided if I just wanted to stay with the stock cams or go with the aftermarket cams, just because there isn't much information out there with aftermarket cams, at least for the Shelby GT350. So I wasn't sure, but at the end of the day, of course, ended up going with these aftermarket ones. But let's just go over now here with the head. So starting with the head, it was full CNC ported, so that's for both heads. It also has new valve seals, which you obviously can't see here, but it also has pack valve springs and titanium retainers. Back here to the cams, so these are RPG Spec Comp VDR series with a custom grind on the lobes. Now, why does it have a custom grind on the lobes? Which leads me to something else you guys don't know. So this engine now, with a few things, all of the engine components that it has, it now revs up to 9,000 RPM. I know it is crazy. I honestly can't wait to do that. It is going to be insane. So that custom grind is just one of the things that now it enables it to rev that high. So it also has ARP long thread head studs. So instead of head bolts, it now has head studs, ARP cam cap bolts, and also ARP cam phaser bolts. So these phasers, these are stock, but what they ended up doing are disassembling it, cleaning it, and assembling it. It also has the stock valves, but they ended up cleaning them and polishing them, but I'm still using the stock ones. So all of these things that I just mentioned are just the bulk of the items. There are a few others, like it's using also the GT500 head gasket here, but all of these upgrades and changes to the heads, can you guys guess how much it cost? It cost $5,500. So that's just for the work done here on the heads. But now that I went over that, it's time to remove this valve cover on this side. Then we can install the GT500 valve covers, and then we can move on to speak more about the rest of the engine components. The most obvious thing that you can notice here is, of course, the ATI damper. But just like I mentioned before, it also has the GT500 oil pump. In there, it has the boundary billet oil pump gears and billet steel crank sprocket, the Ford Performance primary timing chain, MMR chain guides, which if you were to remove this cover, you'll be able to spot that right away just because they are red. So very noticeable. And also the MMR billet primary chain tensioner. So all of that equals a total of $1,600. So now that we went through everything in here in the front, let's make our way here to the back. We have this MMR billet rear seal housing kit, this MMR head cooling mod, and we also have these custom oil balancing tubes. So the reason that I added these two, I want to emphasize a little bit more on these two mods, which were ones that I added towards the end of the build, just because these will pretty much just increase oil circulation as well as coolant circulation here towards the back. So this is mainly because this particular engine, it pretty much focuses the oil circulation here towards the front, but it lacks it here towards the back. And with my engine and having what happened to cylinder 8, I kind of just wanted to kind of go the extra step and just find ways that it can help prevent this and just assist in this. So that's why I had RPG custom fabricate these. And like I said before, I got this idea from the FP350. Now the FP350, their balancing tubes, I believe they're made out of aluminum. These are made out of this braided material. The reason for this is because with this particular engine, the intake manifold has a vacuum section that extends a little bit further, so I need that flexibility. But these two were pretty much last minute additions, but I'm glad that I got them just because I'd rather be safe than sorry. These would just hopefully prevent any cooling issues. So that's why I got this, because I do plan on taking this car back to the track. Now the same thing is here with this MMR head cooling mod. It pretty much just circulates coolant here from the back side of the head to the other back side of the head. So all of these modifications cost a total of $1,000. And like I said before, these were last edition, so basically anything that you see MMR and these custom balancing tubes, as well as the GT500 oil pan, amongst other subs, were just things that I thought of at last minute. I was like, you know what? Let me just go ahead and add it. So that did also delay of this engine. So now we're going to talk about how the block was cleaned and repaired. I know that there were some of you asking me if I was planning to get a new block or if I was going to just reuse this block. There were some discussions in my earlier engine building videos where I know some of you were saying, oh, you should just get a new block because the issue might happen again, so you're just safe off getting a new one. Others were saying, no, this one's fine, just sleeve it and you should be good. At the end of the day, I went with what RPG suggested. They saw my videos and they said that the block was fine. The only issue was obviously cylinder 8, so I just trusted and went with their decision, and I am reusing my block. Now, another reason for that is because, I mean, there's stock GT350 engines that still have failures, GT500 engines still have failures, and honestly, again, like I said earlier on, with the extra things that I decided to add, I'd just rather be safe than sorry. So I have quite a list here of what was done against the block to clean and repair it. I am going to read it off of my phone because it's quite a bit to remember. They sonic cleaned the block, the crank, and all the other supplied engine parts, de-stressed the block, deburred and machined it, diamond honed the cylinders and verified parallel bank to bank angle, bored the cylinder walls, and also installed darton sleeves. They washed and micro polished the crankshaft. So all of this, again, these are just the bulk of the items, but all of this, it came out to a total of around $4,470. Let's talk about the rotating assembly. So The first thing is blueprinting. So this is another one of those things that added to just the delay of this engine being built and sent back to me. So originally, like I had mentioned in the videos, and I told RPG, I told them, okay, well, I want to assemble it myself. So that means they had to blueprint. So that's pretty much recording all of the clearances, measurements, everything. So they had to record this, assemble the engine, and then disassemble it. After they had done that, I came back to them, I reached out back to them and I told them, you know what, I am honestly not going to be able to assemble it myself just because at that time I was very busy with work. I mean, right now I'm also busy with work. So in hindsight, I'm glad that I made that decision. But since it was just a very busy time with me at work, I thought, you know what, I'm not going to be able to put in the focus to assemble this engine. And just knowing in the back of my mind how much this cost, I was like, you know what? RPG, can you please assemble it? So again, that's another thing that took more time and caused delays. So pretty much what goes into blueprinting is pre-building engine internals for clearance measurements, like I said, including mains, rods, rings, gaps, etc. And obviously they have to record and detail all of the dimensions and clearances. This engine also has forged Manley RPG spec pistons with a 12.5-to-1 compression rate. So this changed 0.5 because the stock compression is 12-to-1. So this is another of those factors that's contributing to the engine revving to 9,000 RPMs. It also has lightened Manley billet steel I-beam connecting rods, total seal ring set, King coated XP series main bearings, King Racing coated rod bearings, and of course balancing the crankshaft. So all of this, it came out to more or less of a total of $5,100. Okay, so everything that I've pretty much mentioned up to this point is just in regards to the engine, and I've only mentioned the major bullet points. There are a few more things, so I'd probably add another about $1,200 to that. So in total, this engine would probably be somewhere between $18,000 to $19,000. I know it's a lot. I know some of you will say, you know what, you can just go to eBay and you can get one for less. I've seen them on eBay. They probably range from $8,000 all the way to like $20,000. It really depends on the condition. $20,000 will probably be fully assembled and one with very low mileage. But at the end of the day, it's still a stock 5.2 Voodoo engine. And with the track record that these engines have, I'm honestly not willing to take that risk. I am happy with all of the decisions, all of the upgrades, everything that was changed and done to this engine. If you are planning to build an engine, you don't even have to add some of the parts that I included here, but I mean, YOLO, so I decided to do that. Apart from that, I also plan to do more modifications. I mentioned this in the previous video. I also want to add long tube catless headers. I also want a full exhaust. In the future, upgrade to the Cobra Jet intake manifold. Now that one, you can't use the stock hood. Comes on a GT350 because it pokes out a little bit, which I'm not even planning on staying with that hood. I do have another one in mind. So like I said, for now, I'm just gonna go with the stock one, and then in the near future, upgrade to that one. Now moving on here to the transmission, another thing that I plan on adding here, on changing here, is getting a newer bell housing, because like I mentioned before, and you guys saw, I do have the GT500 oil pan. So they did come out with a newer bell housing where it has this section here at the bottom that it bolts up to the GT500 oil pan just for added security. So I plan on getting that. I also plan on getting a new clutch and flywheel. I'm not sure if you guys remember that in one of my disassembling videos, I ended up dropping the clutch. Is it damaged? I don't think so, but I mean, I'd rather be safe than sorry. So I also plan on getting a new one. And I also plan on getting a carbon fiber drive shaft. So with all of the other modifications that I plan to add, oh, another thing that I forgot, I also plan to add a larger radiator. So with all of that I've mentioned so far, it'll probably be another $6,000 to $7,000. I know it's quite a bit of money, but again, I just want this done right. Since I'm already here at this point, I mean, I might as well upgrade everything that I've wanted to do so in the past. Another big question that I got from a lot of you is whether I was going to supercharge or turbo the Shelby GT350, because RPG Racing Engine is known for their high quality built engine. And this engine, how it stands right now, can support 1,000+ wheel horsepower. But the answer is no. This is going to stay NA. I mean, I just feel that with this car, it just feels better. That's just for me. I already have two supercharged cars, one being a 700 wheel horsepower supercharged car that is a track car, which is the ZL1, and the other supercharged car is a drag car, which is the Red Eye, and that one is going to eventually make a lot more power. So I don't want another supercharged car. As far as turbo, I mean, I'll enjoy the turbo with the giveaway car, which is the GT, once that's installed. If I also want to experience turbo another day, then I mean, I'll experience it in the GTR. I can just get in that car, drive it, and that's it. But the Shelby is going to stay NA, and I don't know, I just feel like that's the best thing, at least for me. Now, when it comes to the total, apart from everything that I just named in regards to the engine, but all of the other modifications that I plan on installing, it's probably going to come out to somewhere around $25,000. I know that's quite a bit, but again, I just rather do this right the first time. Hopefully prevent any issues, at least do as much as I can now instead of having to go through all of this again. And now that I'm here, I might as well just add all of these other modifications that I've been thinking about. So now that we finally got through this Shelby GT350 engine video, I'm so happy. I can't wait to get the Shelby GT350 back on. I hope you guys are as excited as me to go through with that. I still have the BMR suspension parts that I need to install on the giveaway car, which is the GT. If I'm done with all of that and I'm still waiting on the twin turbo kit for the GT, then we can go ahead and start with these videos for the Shelby GT350. So that's going to be next year. It's right around the corner anyways, just a few days away. So I'm so happy. I'm so excited. I mean, it's been forever, but it's finally here. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.